about Noah today. Okay, this is our second major story, and here's the premise. Again, like Hebrews, the author of Hebrews says, all those things were shadows, right, of the reality to come. And so foreshadows, you could say, but shadows. Big idea. If you're going to put effective shadows into a beginning of a book, the only way to do it, you have to know how the book's supposed to end, right? If you're going to write the story of Cinderella, you have to already know in your mind that she's going to return to her pauper state and have lost her slipper, right? That's how you build the tension. It's the only way. So whoever wrote the Bible had to know the end. The end is radically hidden. You would never. That's what the scripture says when it's a bunch of things Paul says. He says, listen, if the rulers of this age knew the story, like if God were blatant with the story, they could have defeated the story by never killing the son. They never would have killed him. Why did God put it in shadows? Because the authorities would never have killed him. How do we get in his clothes? By him dying for us. They wouldn't kill him. So he put it in shadows. You can't find a story. Isaiah 53, where every Christian goes and says, look at Jesus, right? Nowhere in there does it say that that is going to be the path of the anointed one. It doesn't say this is the path of the Messiah. It just calls it the servant. Israel always interpreted that as itself. Oh, we're the servant. Who's the servant? It's a mystery. It's never called the anointed one. He's cloaked. He's in shadows so that they kill him. Oh, look, he's bound in flesh. Let's kill him. They think they're going to win. They invite him into the kingdom of death, and there he gets the keys. I went down, I got the keys, and I came out victorious. It's how he introduces himself in the book of Revelation. How did he get invited down there to get the keys? They thought they were going to win. Because it's cloaked, it's in shadows, it's in shadows. Some things, everything that God put blatant, Satan destroyed it. Adam and Eve in a garden, I can wreck that. You know, the obvious stuff, blatantly ruined. The hidden stuff, he didn't see coming, and they read right over it, and they made the mistake. If they would have known, it would have killed them, right? It wouldn't have killed them. That's what he says. He says, this is the mystery. We're going to read that in the next 2 sermons from now. This is the mystery that has been kept hidden until now. It's a mystery. All the ends are loose, right? That's the mystery. But the ending has been kept hidden. Not like, hey, like if you were going to go build a list of the Anointed One texts, the Messiah texts, just do a trace of Messiah. Do you know what you're going to find? Nothing. You'll come up with very, very little. It's way more shadow than that. Even Cyrus, the king of Persia, is called the Anointed One. It's called the Messiah in the Old Testament. He's God's chosen one for a task. But so if you search chosen one or Messiah, you're going to come up, you're not going to get this. You've got to put together a messianic profile. That's what we do in all the shadows. The Genesis story. Part of the messianic profile is he's going to be a king priest. Why? Because the sons of God are king priests. He's going to be a conqueror. Why? Because he's going to have to go to battle with the evil and come out victorious. All of that's part of, we're going to see messianic shadow in Noah. Nowhere would the word Messiah show up. But shadows, you don't have to be so blatant. It's just a shadow story. Noah's a shadow story, right? The New Testament, we have a cross. Almost every single church has a cross somewhere in the building. If you go back to the first century churches, go archaeology, some of them have a cross. If they're a little later, 300, 400 years later. If you get early, do you know what they all have? Fish. They have a fish, but they also have an ark. That's your first Christian symbol. Then it became a fish. And then, eventually, when the Roman Empire was kind of rolling to an end, okay, let's redeem the cross. This is not the first Christian symbol. This is the symbol of salvation. Peter says, God demonstrated in Noah that he was able to save the righteous and punish the wicked. Salvation, first picture Peter's going to throw you to is this one. This one. Here's your salvation story. Right? That's it. What does Peter say? There's a shadow of what? So the whole story, the salvation story, you get a shadow here. Right? There it is. All right. So what's the story? What is the story? You know it. What is it?
The story of Noah?
Yeah. Why is he going to flood it?
Because
So
Evil. Everyone's evil. How evil?
So evil.
unredeemable.
Unredeemably evil. Or at least potentially unredeemable. All they think about is evil all day. Okay, that's most people. But that's pretty bad commentary, right? They've lost me. Now, they don't have the Old Testament. They don't have text. They don't have prophets. They don't have any of that, right? You could argue Noah's a prophet, but no text, no rules. You know, they're still doing the reputation of God is what's driving them. They all arguably know Adam, certainly of him. He's only been dead like 100 years on the Bible timeline. Everyone lives to 1,000. So you really, how many people do you get to know in 1,000 years? How many stories do you get to know? All of them, right? That's why it can work. That's why you don't need text, because you don't have to pass down stories and writings. You have do you know how many birthday parties you've gone to in 1,000 years? Do you know how many, all of that, any ceremony at all, how many sacrifices you've gone to, how many, all those things? You know all the stories. You're 1,000, right? And how did they die? They don't die feeble, and he was strong right up to the last day. He was, so that 1,000 good years, ridiculous. But they've all turned away from God, right? The world is bad. Here's the story. The world is bad. Is this coming out of nowhere? No. It's the second story. Where did badness start? Adam and Eve, right? We're building on a story. Read it like it's a story. What's the next tension? How bad did it get? The first two kids killed each other, right? How bad did it get? Got really bad. How bad? No, it's the wrong question. It's part of the question. What's the real question? What's the tension of the first story? Here it is. Eve, one of your seeds is going to triumph over evil and deliver us from this whole mess. Is it Seth? Is it Abel? Is it Abel? But that's the question, right? Adam and Eve. When Jesus said, listen, I'm going to come back, do you know what the disciples did? When? When are you coming back? Should I get lunch? Paul says, listen, if you have people in your church who have stopped working, why? Because Jesus is coming back. Throw it all away. Go. You're going to have a seed who's going to fix the whole problem. Then they had Cain and Abel. One good, one bad. What's the tension? How good is the good one? Can he save them? Who triumphs? The bad one. And then it says this, but Eve had another son in Adam's image, in the image of his father. And that's the tension of God making Adam in his own image. It's the exact language. And what's the hope on Abel, on Seth? Can he be the one? Is he the one? then somebody names their kid Noah. And Noah means comfort. And Noah, someone is finally born who is, what does it say?
Righteous.
Righteous, who will comfort the heart of God. Who will comfort the heart of God. Is Noah the hope for the world? The world is evil, but here's the tension. Based out of the story right out of it, is he the one? Is this the time they're really at? We know. We read the story. We're here. We know the answer is no. But they don't know that. But God is teaching everyone something from this story, and something we're supposed to learn, that we're supposed to go, yep, Noah's a good guy, but he's not good enough. That won't be it. That won't be it. I'm gonna get rid of this. Let's get rid of this idea. What's the idea? Stop looking for hope this way. Because really, what's the story coming up? Abraham, we'll get there. Abraham, and what's the tension of that story? Another righteous guy, another person by faith. You know, now it's not deserved righteousness, it's ascribed righteousness, which is better, right? So Abraham, and what does God say? Sacrifice your children to me. Will it be that way? Nope, it's not that way. Nope, I'm going to take that off the table. All right, so I'm going to take that. It's not human sacrifice. I'm going to take that off the table. Spoiler alert. That's what we'll talk about. But what's this? What are we taking off the table here? Okay, so what's the story? The world's evil. Noah's righteous. How righteous? Perfectly righteous? No. How do you know he's not perfectly righteous?
What was that?
Okay, it's totally made evident afterwards. What's the first thing he does? Plants a vineyard so he can get drunk, right? And then he's probably having sex out in the open, and the one son gets the other people to come watch, and the other people are like, no, let's come on. And it's probably not laying there drunk naked. It's argued, but in the law, like you don't sleep with your mother because that's your father's nakedness. So it's a euphemism, probably. It's not Noah's drunk out naked somewhere and the kids want to come make fun of him and draw smiley faces on him, put mustard in his beard. You know, that's probably not it. It's probably more perverse than that. It's probably a bit of pornography, right? Hey, let's go watch them. You're girls. Let's show honor. Let's honor them. So right, okay. So he's a sinner right off the get-go. And what else is right afterwards? The tension of the curse. Is the curse broken somehow? No, curse ain't broken. Why? Because he has to curse his sons. Right? So the curse continues. The fathers are still cursing the children. Right? This is what happens. Adam cursed his children. Noah curses his children. So Noah, there's no hope here. There's no hope here. Right? But what's the story though? What's the story? Tell me about the story. What does God do?
Gives them mercy with the rainbow.
Well, don't jump ahead.
There's floods here.
Floods the earth. Floods the earth. Why that? Why rain?
This is washing. Oh.
Maybe. Do they get washed clean? No. See what she did there? If it's a shadow, what's it pointing to? So good effort. And it's probably partially right in there, right? That's good. Certainly part of the idea. But we're literally Genesis 6. In my Bible, 1, 2, 2, 3. 3 pages, both sides, but paper. 3 pages away from what story? What was 3 pages earlier? Creation. Creation. And your brain, because it's not told as a story, doesn't tie those 2 stories together. 3 pages. Describe the earth 3 pages before this. When God shows up to the earth, how is it described?
You know, he talks about the creation of the earth, where the water and the air and the land.
How is the earth described in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, maybe?
It's good.
No. No.
There's waters.
And the water covered the earth, and the Spirit of God hovered over the water, and we know the Spirit as what form? Think of Jesus' baptism. God spoke from heaven, Jesus is coming out of the water, and I saw the Holy Spirit descend on him as a dove. Yeah, like a dove. So we have a dove.
Okay, it's good.
Yeah, little face. We have a dove. Okay, the earth is described before God creates the earth and makes it good. It's a globe flooded in water, right? Now the earth got bad, and what does God do to the earth? It's a start over. We're rebooting. It's a reboot story. It's a reboot. How do you not? The earth is covered in water, and what's the story? Dry land comes out, and then plant life comes out. When Noah's getting off the ark, it's covered in water. And he lets out a what? A dove. And the dove is flying over the water. And it's just water. And then what happens? Then dry land begins to appear. And then what? Vegetation shows up. Why? Because the dove comes back with an olive leaf. An olive leaf!
I know everybody get
An olive leaf? A sign of peace? Seriously? An olive leaf? Can you get more Jewish than that? No, you can't. Can you get more Holy Spirit than a dove? No, you cannot. You have a flooded earth covered in water, and the land emerges, and then the trees emerge, and then the door opens, and life spills out. It's a recreation story. It's the exact same story, in the exact same order, with the exact same elements. And when Noah gets off the ark, God gives him the exact word-for-word blessing that he gave to Adam and Eve, his first children. He says in chapter 9, be fruitful and multiply and fill the whole earth. It's the same story. It's the exact same story.
Dang.
It's crazy, right? It's crazy. It's the exact same story, and the Holy Spirit is there in the form of the dove. Who what brings peace? Come on. Come on. How are we not reading this? How are we not telling this story? You're telling me that someone's going to make an argument that the author of that story, didn't know how the story was going to end? That's laughable. Of course, you can't put those elements in there. Right? And, okay, how does the story end? Alvin, what were you saying? How does it end?
Just, mercy of the rainbow,
The rainbow. And what is the rainbow a promise of?
whatever. Oh, man.
No reboots.
Yep.
Thank you! Here, let me take this off the plate. The solution to the problem of evil is not endless reboots. That's not the solution. I swear it on oath to a rainbow. Do not look for a reboot. It won't be a reboot. I will save you, but I will save you. I will redeem you. I will not redeem the future by killing you. I will redeem you. I won't kill you. This is not a story of me starting over and over again until I finally get to a righteous person and all of his children are perfect. No, this is a story of redemption. I will save you through the flood. Peter says that story is proof that God knows how to save people from his wrath. That's the story. It's not a story of a flood. That's stupid. That's stupid. This is a story right in the beginning that's pointing to the problem, and the solution is not a reboot. Don't look that way. Just like it's going to be, okay, let me take that off the table. Now let me take off child sacrifice. It won't be through you sacrificing a child. Ironically, it will be through me sacrificing a child, however. So it's close. It's a shadow, but it's also instructive. So we don't look for a reboot. No, God isn't going to kill us all. He's going to save us all. He isn't looking for a naturally righteous person to have naturally righteous genealogy. You would think it's going to be, why would you think that? Why would they even think that? Because it's such a shadow to say, listen, you, Eve, are going to have a son who's going to fix it all. So all you're going to look for is a son. How is he going to fix it? People are getting worse. Well, he's going to have to keep killing us all off and hope it's starting over. Killing off, starting over. God says to Moses, I'm going to kill them all, start over. It's literally what God says to Moses. And Moses says what? You can't do it. You can't do it. You can't do it for tons of reasons. One is, how weak are you? You know what all the gods will say? They'll say, look, he's so weak he had to kill him off in the desert. He couldn't save him. This is a weak God who would do this. Moses knew it. He knew it from the story. Like that's not the solution. You're not that weak. You're not that small. You're a way bigger God. We do not connect. Like literally. But they're both going somewhere, right? The trajectory isn't from Adam, from this flood to this flood. The story is right through. It's right through. It's also why when God takes Israel out of Egypt, where does he take them first? Through the water.
Yeah.
Through the water. It's a new creation. I am creating a new nation to be a kingdom and priests, to be brand new on this earth and be different. You should be different. You've been brought out of the water. But notice they're not killed in the water. Egypt is. Not all of Egypt. God didn't say no one will die. It's not a reboot though. But it's a brand new nation. Through the water. But it's not the final solution. Jesus isn't the flood. He's a person that will save us through. See that? It's really cool. All right, but, okay, so that's the obvious. That's the obvious stuff. We should pick up on that. What is the, so that's what it's not. The flood. The rainbow. It's not a reboot. Learn that. Don't look for a reboot. But there's clues in the story, what you should look for. What are the pictures in the story that you should look for? So let me ask you just some questions, okay? Who gets on the app? Who does God tell? God tells Noah. Who was righteous? Noah. Noah, right? How many is Noah?
Just one.
Just one. One. How many are righteous?
One. Not one.
Just not.
Well, in the story.
Oh.
In the story, there's one. How many people are on the boat? Wait a minute. Let me ask you this. Are his sons righteous? Why do they get to get on the boat?
Is that part of the family?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I hear a shadow singing. Wait, how many people are righteous? One. How many people get saved? How many people could have gotten saved?
He was asking, right?
According to Peter, he preached for 120 years. He was a preacher of righteousness. No one chose to get on. One righteous guy is going to save the rest. Do they all have to be righteous? They do not. One righteous, salvation for all. It's right there. Here's what it's not. It's not a reboot. Here's what it is. One righteous guy is going to save them all. The offer is going to be made to all. Through the righteousness of one man, righteousness will be offered to all of them. Romans 5. What is Paul talking about? Noah. That's Noah. That's what he's saying. Like, that's the story. He isn't pulling that out of nowhere. That's this story. Let me ask you this question. Everyone who gets on the ark, why are they on the ark? You said it. Why?
To be saved.
No? They're part of this family. Okay, so what you're telling me, in all seriousness, is 120 years he couldn't talk one single stranger into getting into the boat? Not a single friend. Do they not have a best friend?
Yeah.
They can't get a best friend in the boat? That seems weird. Does that not seem a little weird? Like, they're 1,000 years old. You don't think they have really unbelievably good friends who know they're not crazy?
God told them who to take.
Why?
Because
Because to be saved by the righteous one, you too must be part of the family of God. No family, non-family members are not in. And so what do you become when you get saved? You become a family member. Why? So you can get on the ark. Everyone on the ark is his family.
didn't make that.
But they weren't necessarily, I mean, they were family, but were they, did they believe him?
We don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, they had to trust the dad enough to get on, though, right?
Well, yeah, but, you know, when they demonstrate their behavior as soon as they get off.
Yeah.
You go,
Yeah, right.
That's right.
Yeah. And their wives get on, right? So family here is also not just blood, right? So it's family by the broader sense. And, right, we're not told that faith is going to be Abraham's story, right? It's going to be by faith. We're going to learn that in Abraham, not here. Here we're going to get these other shadows that are important. We have to get these out of the way first. At least God thinks so by his order of telling us. But here's what we do get. Through the righteousness of one man, salvation is offered to all, but to actually get on, you have to be part of the family. That's right in the story. That is the gospel. It's literally the gospel. Right in there.
Yeah.
What else do you know? What else?
Well, it's like the everlasting covenant, right? Like the rainbow is like,
Okay,
this is
so it's an
forever.
everlasting covenant. You're going to get that. Okay, this is ridiculous. How do they get on the boat?
Noah built these steps that go all the way up, and when the ship went away, they I'm just joking.
How do you get on the boat?
God.
God's still living in there.
Wow, really? It's ridiculous. It's the stupidest story you've ever heard. Really? Oh, wow. There's a door right there. You know anything about boats?
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Do you know anything about ships so big that they're gonna endure the flood of the earth? Wait, what? Yeah, there's a door. Right in the middle of the boat, as a hull. Big enough that elephants walk through. A little door, a giant door. A giant door in the side of a boat. Jesus said, I am the door, you know, just saying. What? No one in the history of boat making. Let me prove to you, God taught Noah how to build great boats. He put a door in the side of it. Like, that doesn't work. Does that work? That doesn't work. Does it work? Okay, why? What could that be? Like, should that grab your attention? in the reading of any boat story. Yes, if you know anything about boats, this should go, wait a minute,
Should
that
float,
sucker's
should
gonna
sink.
sink. It's just gonna sink. It might last a minute, but it's not gonna hit a storm, and that's trouble. Big, big trouble. It's big trouble. It's very surprising. I don't know how to spell that. Very surprising. It's very surprising. There's a surprise. I know how to say it. And it's gonna seem crazy. That's a crazy idea. Build a giant boat and build a door on the side. That's a crazy idea. I think that's the shadow. It's crazy. It's something totally unexpected. But what's also true about the door?
Well, it's the way you get in, and it's like, it's a representation of heaven.
Sure. There's one way in. There's one way. It's through a door, right? It's all in there. It's all in there. It's a surprise. It's a way you would never expect to get into the salvation. You would expect an earthen ramp. You'd expect stairs. You'd expect angels fly down and pick up the animals. Would make way more sense in this story than a door in the side of the boat. It just doesn't work. How does the story end?
The Lord showed me.
Well, the big story. A Jew who dies on a Roman cross is the way to salvation. That's ridiculous. Oh yeah? Let me tell you the story God said. Should you be looking for a ridiculous something? You should. You know why? Because God told Noah to build a boat with a door in the side of it. And he's saying, look for a crazy end to this sucker. Because that is a crazy way
But
into
it also
salvation.
says that God sealed the door.
And then, how safe is it? How safe is it? How safe are they in this boat? And God shut the door, and God sealed them in.
The Holy Kiss.
It's not a boat. It's not a door. It's access through one way that God provided and then God made safe. Don't look for a reboot. Look for a way through my wrath, a surprising way. But we'll be safe because I will make it safe. It'll be one way, through a door, access to life. It's crazy that it's all in there. It's all in there. It's a one-way door, a whole thing, in a way you wouldn't expect, blah, blah, blah. And where does the boat land?
Ararat.
On the mountains of Ararat. Yeah, so they argue, one mountain, an area, blah, blah, blah. Why tell us? Why tell us?
I tell you where things started. Below.
Yeah. Seems to be way outside the Garden of Eden. Right? Seems to be way outside. So we're traveling way west. We're traveling way west. We're off in
Basically.
Iran somewhere, right? We're up into the Iranian mountains up here, up in there somewhere. Way up there. Armenia. We're in Armenia of today, right? So up there, or that. I don't know. Is there still an Armenia? There's still Armenians. I have friends who are Armenian. I don't know. I think there is. But in the mountains there, yeah. And the boat lands on Mount Ararat. The story ends. Right? Well, it doesn't end. They get off. You get the dove. You get the peace. You get the same blessing. Be fruitful, multiply, fill the whole earth. It's a reboot. We're restarting. Right? It's not the right one because sin lasts. But what is Mount Ararat? What does that help us with? Anything? Here's what's interesting. If you go to, did I write it in here? Yeah. If you go to the Enhanced Strong's Lexicon, which helps you with words, here's what you'll find. You will find that the root of the word means holy ground, and Ararat itself means the curse is reversed. Curse is going to be reversed on holy ground through a surprising way. I'll save you through my wrath, through the righteousness of one man. The many can be saved through the door, I will keep you safe, and you'll land where there is no curse, and you'll land in holy ground. It's all in the Noah story, the second story in your Bible on page 4. That guy, Moses did not write that story. He penned it. But Moses didn't know the end of the book. God knew the end of the story. And so this is real. But it's shadow at the same time. And it's a wonderful, it's a full expression of where we're headed. It's not even just scratching the surface, it's deep with really key ideas in it, right from the beginning. And we're trained again, we're trained to read the story, read the Bible like, be in a hurry, read it in a year, or read it like, this is history. This happened, and then you're reading a timeline. This happened, and this happened, and this happened. So you're reading it like a history book. History books are not novels. They're what happened. This is a novel. It's a story. The stories are cherry-picked. There's 2,000 years between this story and this one. You only have this story and then 3 pages later this one. Why? Because it's a novel. It's not a timeline in any sense. That's just wrong reading of it. Isn't that? I think that's amazing. I think it's amazing. Yeah. Thoughts? Questions?
We teach it in Sunday school that God keeps his promises.
God keeps his
That's all we
promises.
talk about for going.
Yeah,
I mean, it's true.
It's true.
Good, it's beautiful.
Right.
It's fun.
It's beautiful. The rainbow. It's a promise. Don't worry about floods.
Yeah.
Right? No. Don't look for a reboot. Look for a righteous man. Don't look for a reboot. Watch for a righteous man, because through the righteousness of one man, he can save his whole family. That's right. We don't do any of that. We don't teach it as a shadow at all. It's a story on a timeline. That's how I always did it too.
Yeah.
I taught you that way.
Yes, you did.
Right? I taught you that way. Like, I'm guilty. And I'm so glad I'm past that. Like, one book, one
Do
novel.
you think you'd appreciate it as much now if you hadn't been taught anyway? Because,
Right.
they talk about drinking milk and then moving to solid food.
Yeah.
And really, this is solid food. And because you're looking at all the shadows of the way the novel was written from beginning to end, always pointing
Yeah.
to Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, how long were they on the boat? That'll do strange things to people.
They're on the boat a long time. Long time.
Like courageous for Andreas.
Yeah. A full year. They're on the boat a
Wrong
full
with
year.
this
And
guy.
then they had to wait long enough for the vines to ripen and give them grapes.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, no, it's a long time. And again, we ask all the wrong questions, right? So we ask something like, where does all the water come from? We ask something like, and then we try to explain it scientifically, well, there was a curtain of water, blah, blah, blah. And we ask, how many animals are on the ark? We ask something like, where did all the poop go? Right? like literally, you can't get out. Like it's not, this is not a life-sustaining boat, right? It's literally not. So if you build this boat, this sinks you, and then it's built like this, and there is one window. One! There will be no oxygen in that boat. You can't have every animal on the planet by times a lot, right? 14 out of animals, there's 14 of every clean animal, and there's 4, not 2, there's 4 of every unclean animal, right? They're pairs, 7 pairs, and 2 pairs. That's 4, that's a lot of animals. One window, where's the poop go? Where does the oxygen go? Where does all the methane go? Where's all the food and water? Where do they get water? Oh, they got all the water they want. No, they don't. Can't get it. When Moses lets the bird go, it says he has to reach his arm out the window like this to have the bird be able to land on it. Gives us those details. That's a very small window and it's very high up. It's not like, oh, they're just, hanging out fishing, getting water.
Well, and it's really not
All the wrong questions.
that big of a boat. I mean, when you think about it,
Yeah,
I mean, to have, I don't know how many animals there were around in those days.
more than that, right? There's
A lot.
less, not more. Yeah, all that. Yeah. So again,
It's not,
yes, they're part of
Scientifically
it, but
feasible.
the whole story is a miracle. The whole thing's a miracle. It does none of it. It has a door right in the middle of the boat. We're not talking scientific. You just get over it. Get over it. If you're trying to answer this scientifically, you're clearly trying to answer a timeline question. God said this happened here by these people. Let's figure out how it could. Is it real? Of course it's real. It's going to Jesus. Look at it. It's outrageous. If God shuts them in, why is he shutting them in? To keep them safe. Will he give them air?
Amen.
Wait. Will the salvation be everything they need? Or will they have to provide for their own salvation while they're in there? God got them in the boat, but they now have to feed themselves and breathe themselves and catch their own fish and dump their own poop. Is their actual life up to them? No. It's a package deal, is it not? It's a package deal. The whole thing's ridiculous. It's a boat with a door, with one window, and all these animals, and not enough food, and not enough space, and not enough oxygen, and no water at all. But it's salvation. And who's saving who in the story? It's a miracle. It's a miracle salvation. I don't care about the science. Like, I'm not going to debate you where the water came from. Besides, look around. There's a lot of water. but that's a timeline question. Bible's not a timeline story. It's ridiculous to get caught up in those kind of arguments. Those are the ones we always have. Those are the ones Christians always have. Because we're looking at it at a timeline, and if it's a true story, if it isn't true, then the whole thing's not true. So it has to be true, it had to actually happen on a timeline. And so it has to be scientifically doable. That's not scientifically doable on any of the issues. Neither is a dead Jew on a Roman cross.
Amen.
Cannot answer that on a timeline. That is theological. The King of Kings died on that cross, and you can't prove that scientifically. You can only prove it by the story. Get over the scientific argument. It's a theology book. It's a novel. And yes, it's true.
Well,
Deeply
creation
true.
itself is
But it's miraculous. The whole thing's miraculous.
creation itself